Good evening and welcome to Primetime News on TV1. For the Newsfirst team, I am Shehan Ranatunga. The year 2023 is well underway as this is the 2nd of January. Now before we go any further, let's first take a look at your headlines. President leads the public sector in officially commencing duties for the new year.
සතිය දවස් 5කට සීමා වෙන්නේ නැහැ. මේ ස්ථානයේ ඉන්න හැම එක්කෙනාම අපි කැප වෙලා වැඩ කරමු. 2023 අවසන් වෙනකොට මේ රටේ සාමාන්‍ය තත්ත්වයක් ඇති කරමු.
Sri Lankan monks seek Dalai Lama's visit and blessings to overcome economic crisis. Electricity workers threaten with trade union action if tariffs are increased.
Renner Rajapaksatයි අඬුවයි ඉස්තු මුලාරකට කාංචනටයි ගෙයින්ගෙට ගිහිල්ලා මිනිස්සුගේ විදුලි සන්ධි කරලා ගුටි කාලා ඉන්න තමයි සිද්ධ වෙන්නේ.
Talks between professionals and State Finance Minister on income tax conclude without a decision. Student union leader arrested for damaging Education Ministry gate. UNP and SLPP in talks of forming a possible alliance. Now on to your top stories. Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe says that he hopes to take the country forward with the support of all to restore normalcy by the end of 2023. Now, the head of state made this comment while officially commencing work for the new year.
The President's office staff officially commenced their duties for the new year today morning with the President in attendance. President Wickremesinghe hoisted the national flag, marking the commencement of duties in the new year. And all staff members of the President's office took the public service pledge together.
සපුරා ඉටු කරන බවට ප්‍රතිඥා දෙමි.
President Wickremesinghe, addressing the staff, said that the opinion of the majority is that there is a need for a change in the political system of the country.
මාස පහමාරකට පෙර
5.5 months ago, we took over a historic task at this office. During those 5.5 months, we took steps to establish normalcy in the country at a time when the government had collapsed and the economy had also collapsed. But not all our economic problems are over. Today we have the ability to provide fuel, gas, food and fertilizer as required. However, our task is not over. The most crucial year is 2023. We have to move forward by implementing the debt restructuring program and freeing our country from the debt burden. Moreover, we have to build an economy that can compete with the new world. The opinion of the majority is that there is a need for a change in the political system of this country. We have to fulfill both these things. We also need to come up with a new method that can resolve the problems of today's political system.
විසඳන්ට හැකි අලුත් ක්‍රමවේදයක් අපි ඉදිරිපත් කරන්නට මේ තියෙන්නේ මේ අවුරුද්දේ වැඩ කටයුතු.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe said that no one can shirk their responsibilities for the country in the year 2023, which is a crucial year for the Sri Lankan economy.
මේ ආණ්ඩුව දිහා බලන්න එක යන්ත්‍රණයක්.
We look at this government as a sort of mechanism. This is not divided into several programs by ministries. All work is subparts of the same mechanism. Therefore, there can be no competition or tug of war between anyone, and no one can put a limit to their responsibilities. All of you should be bound to implement the basic policies of the country. The core of the program is the President's office as well as the Cabinet office and the Prime Minister's office. It's from these institutions that these activities will be carried out. Each person's duties cannot be limited to 8 hours a day and 5 days a week. Let's all work with commitment. By the end of 2023, I hope to take this country forward with the support of all of you and restore normalcy.
බලාපොරොත්තුෙන් මම ඔබ සියලු දෙනාගේම සහායක ඇතුව මේ රට ඉදිරියට ගෙනියන්නට බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා.
The President extended his best wishes to the staff for the new year. Thereafter, the President joined the staff members for a tea party.
In other news, Indian media reported that a group of high-ranking Sri Lankan Buddhist monks who were on a pilgrimage to Bodh Gaya recently have invited the Dalai Lama to visit Sri Lanka.
The Pali and Sanskrit International Bhikkhu Exchange program took place in India recently, and on the 28th of December 2022, a group of high-ranking Sri Lanka Buddhist monks met with Buddhist spiritual leader the Dalai Lama in Bodh Gaya. According to media reports from India, the Mahanayaka of the Askiri chapter of the Siam sect, Most Venerable Varakagoda Sri Gnanaratana Thera, Anunayaka of the Malwatu chapter of the Siam sect, Most Venerable Niyangoda Vijitasiri Thera, Mahanayaka of the Sri Lanka Ramanya sect, Most Venerable Makuleve Vimalathera, Mahanayaka of the Sri Sambuddha Sasanodaya Sangha Sabha of the Sri Lanka Amarapura sect, Most Venerable Vaskadue Mahinda Vansathera, among others, were present for this meeting. The Mahasangha believe that the visit and blessings of Buddhist spiritual leader, the Dalai Lama, will help overcome the challenges in Sri Lanka.
As members of the Mahasangha, we were really happy to meet the Dalai Lama. We understood his spirituality. We were able to understand many things through that. These days, Bodh Gaya is very cold and people usually don't come, but people are there because of the Dalai Lama. Bodh Gaya is benefited in many ways. This benefits India economically as well. Is Tibet benefited from it? We need to think about that. I believe that if the Dalai Lama was in Sri Lanka, we would not have experienced the crisis because everyone would come to Sri Lanka and help the country.
In 2015, Buddhist spiritual leader the Dalai Lama was to visit Sri Lanka. However, that visit never took place.
Now, the Hindustan Times reports that former President of Sri Lanka, Kotabe Rajapaksa, has applied for restoration of his US citizenship. Quoting a foreign newspaper, the Hindustan Times report notes, quote, "This comes as he failed to get asylum in any country. Kotabe Rajapaksa had fled Sri Lanka in July last year. He then returned after nearly 2 months. The US government is yet to consider the request," end quote. The Hindustan Times report also states, quote, "Any appeal by his lawyers to the US government, more pointedly the Department of State, to restore his citizenship, which he renounced to contest the 2019 November presidential election, has still not been considered," end quote. There was no immediate comment from the former president, Kotabe Rajapaksa. In other news, Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund, Kristalina Georgieva, says that the world must act with urgency to resolve the debt distress on countries such as Sri Lanka. She expressed these views during an interview on CBS.
This is what we see in 2023. For most of the world economy, this is going to be a tough year, tougher than the year we leave behind. Why? Because the three big economies, US, EU, China, are all slowing down simultaneously.
According to the IMF, 60% of low-income countries are in distress because of this debt. So what does that look like to you? Do you see governments collapsing with defaults? Does that bleed into the global financial system? I mean, how much of a contagion does this become?
So far, the countries that are in that distress are not systemically significant to trigger a debt crisis. Let's just look at the map. Which are these countries? Chad, Ethiopia, Zambia, Ghana, Lebanon, Suriname, Sri Lanka. Very important for their people that we find a resolution to the debt problem, but the risk of contagion is not as high. However, if that list continues to grow, and let's remember 25% of emerging markets are trading in distressed territory, then the world economy may be for a bad surprise. And this is why at the IMF, we are working very hard to press for debt resolution for these countries. And we have engaged the traditional creditors, the Paris Club, the non-traditional creditors, China, India, Saudi Arabia. Our call is very simple: urgency. We have to act.
The second charter flight operation of Red Wings Airlines in Russia reached Mattala today with 405 passengers. Former Sri Lankan ambassador to Russia, Udayanga Weeratunga, said that this program is implemented under his complete supervision.
There will be another flight in February. They are not going to stop because of any red warrant again. We urge everyone to help us out in developing the Mattala airport.
ඔව් ඒ පුද්ගලයාම තමයි මගේ પાස්පෝර්ට් එකත් අවලංගු කරේ. එතකොට රතු වරෙන්ති දැම්මේ නම් ඒ පුද්ගලයා නෙමෙයි. අර ඒ පුද්ගලයා
Yes, this is the same person who cancelled my passport, but he had nothing to do with the red warrant. It was someone else. I am thankful to the president today. He believes in me more than Kotabe. It was he who allowed to waive off the tax imposed on these flights.
You're about to witness the hardships that a village in Hambantota experiences. Now, the following is a very sensitive report, and we decided to report on it in order to prevent any such incidents from taking place again.
The entire village of Talahena in Loluwagoda, Mirigama, is in shock. While many across Sri Lanka welcomed the new year with smiles, it was tears that rolled down the faces of the entire village of Talahena. The death of a 5-year-old boy sent shockwaves across the village, and the reason for his death was his own mother. The 32-year-old mother had given her 5-year-old son and 9-year-old daughter poison, and thereafter consumed poison herself. Neighbors immediately rushed the 3 of them to the hospital. However, the little boy did not survive. The mother and daughter are currently in hospital receiving treatment. A police investigation is also underway. However, neighbors say the family was burdened by many economic woes.
කියන ආර්ථික ප්‍රශ්න මෙරිකලා අන්තිමට ගන්න තියෙන්නේ ළමයි දෙන්නේ කරත්ත කරගන්න බැරුණාම අම්මා කෙනෙක් ගත්ත දීපයක් වගේ තමයි තියෙන්නේ. තාමත් කනගාටුදායක සිද්ධි අද රටේ එන්නේ. මේවා නවත්ත ගන්න ඕන. අමුදාවේ ඉඳලා අයින් වෙච්ච කෙනෙක් හොඳම කාලේ රණබීමේ හිටපු මෙයාට පෙන්ෂන් එකක් හම්බෙන්න මෙයා 12න් අයින් වෙච්ච කෙනෙක්. ණයබර තමයි මේකට හුඟක් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. ඉතින් ඉදිරියේදීත් මේ වගේ තව දේවල් අපිට අහන්න ලැබෙන්න වේවි.
One life is already lost, and the lives of 2 others are hanging in the balance. Irrespective of the reason, shouldn't action be taken to prevent the recurrence of such tragic events?
In an instance like this, you feel hopeless, stressed and depressed. In such a state, you cannot find solutions to issues, and even if there is a solution, you won't see it because you may experience tunnel vision. You won't be able to speak or think clearly. When you feel hopeless, you may be inclined to commit suicide. If you are unable to reach decisions, seek counselling. And if you have suicidal thoughts, you can seek counselling. There is a National Mental Health Helpline, which is 1926. Non-governmental organizations like Sumithro also have hotlines. Seek help by contacting them.
නොවන ආයතන කියන්නේ සුමිත්‍රය වගේ රාජ්‍ය නොවන ආයතන වලට ශනික ඇමතුම් අංක තියෙනවා. ඉතින් ඒවට කතා කරන්න කියන එක මට කියන්න.
Now, the onset of the worst economic crisis in Sri Lanka's history drove the administration to implement multiple measures to address it, chief among which was the amending of electricity tariffs. Now, several months after electricity tariffs were amended, another attempt being made to hike tariffs once more has been met with heavy resistance. Now, while Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Wijesekara plans to present this proposal to the Cabinet today, the chairman of the Public Utilities Commission claims the tariff hike will not be approved. Now, trade unions attached to the power sector are also gearing up to launch trade union action against this move. According to the proposed amendment, tariffs for 0 to 30 units used will be increased from 8 rupees to 30 rupees, and the fixed charge to be increased from 120 rupees to 400 rupees. The cost of a unit between 31 to 60 units, which was at 10 rupees, is to be increased to 37 rupees, while the fixed charge within that spectrum has been proposed to be increased from 240 rupees to 550 rupees. Although the cost per unit between 91 to 120 and 121 to 180 units are to remain unchanged, fixed costs for the spectrum are to be increased from 960 rupees to 1,500 rupees. For customers who use more than 181 units, the unit charge, which was 75 rupees, will not change, and the fixed charge, which was set at 1,500 rupees, will increase to 2,000 rupees. For places of worship, the unit fee for 0 to 30 units will be increased from 8 rupees to 30 rupees.
The political authority took several steps in the recent past to destroy the independence of the PUCSL. This is a historic error. The latest issue is the tariff hike. The method to increase tariffs systematically has been explained in the Electricity Act and the PUCSL Act. They have deviated from that method, obtained a wrong interpretation from the Attorney General and are following it to hike electricity tariffs. I had a discussion with the rest of the PUCSL members in this regard. We do not intend to greenlight this action.
The Joint Trade Union Alliance of the Electricity Board claims it will move to a trade union action if electricity tariffs are amended.
If it is increased tonight, CEB employees will take to the streets at noon tomorrow with the welfare of the citizens in mind. We will stage a 2-hour walkout from 12 noon tomorrow. Even after staging the walkout, we will allow the government to reverse its decision. If it is not reversed, by tomorrow night, the situation across the country will worsen. The entire citizenry is ready to take to the streets by tomorrow evening against Kanchana's thuggish government. We will not send our employees to suspend power supply to houses that have defaulted on payments. Renner, Rajapaksa and Kanchana can go from home to home and do it and be beaten up in the process.
රනිල් රාජපක්ෂටයි අඬුවයි ස්ක්‍රිබ්ල් අරගෙන කාංචනටයි ගෙයින් ගෙට ගිහිල්ලා මිනිස්සුගේ විදුලි සන්ති කරලා ගුටි කාලා ඉන්න තමයි සිද්ධ වෙන්නේ. චොප්පේ අයියා වගේ හැසිරෙන කාංචන විජේසේකර.
We wish to ask Kanchana, who is acting like a thug, are you executing Basil Rajapaksa's plan of sending Ranil Rajapaksa home? Do not do this.
කුමන්ත්‍රණයක්ද මේ කියලා. මේ තක්කඩි වැඩේ කරන්න.
Members of the Citizens of the People Struggle organization stated that they are not ready to pay increased electricity bills.
We wish to clearly state to the government, the minister and the president that the people are not willing to pay increased electricity bills at any cost. This country will not dance to the tune of America or China.
The Samagi Jana Balawegaya also commented on the matter.
Kanchana Wijesekara is acting like a worse dictator than Ranil Wickremesinghe. All he sees is one side of the story. Do not create a situation for a struggle to come about by taking such decisions. It eventually led to Kotabe Rajapaksa's resignation. If they believe the people can be intimidated through thuggery and threats, they are wrong.
A program to obtain 6.9 million signatures against the electricity tariff hike was held opposite the Kalani Raja Mahaviharaya and the Fort Railway Station for the second day today.
The trio of the minister, ministry secretary and chairman must reverse this immediately. We cannot allow them to work to fulfill their wishes.
මේක වහාම අකුල ගන්න. මේ තුන් දෙනෙක්ට ඕන විදිය වැඩ කරන්න දෙන්න බෑ.
ජනවෛරී අමාත්‍ය. If the minister who despises the people plans to increase tariffs in a selfish manner, we will have to refrain from paying our bills. If they plan to launch a scam of this magnitude, the people will not pay their bills.
කෑමට ගොදුරු වෙන්න මේ රටේ ජනතාව සූදානම් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ නිසා අපි විදුලිය බිල ගෙවන්නේ නැහැ.
අපිට දැන් හිඟා කරනවත් බෑනේ. හැමෝම හිඟබරන්ටනේ වැටලා තින්නේ. රුපියල් 5000ක් අරන් ගියොත් shopping දෙකකනේ බඩු ගේන්න මෙන්නේ. මොකද්ද මේ ජීවිතේ අපි ගත කරන්නේ? ලෝන් ගහලා මිනිස්සු රජයේ ජොබ් කරන මිනිස්සු හිඟන්න වෙලා තින්නේ. අපිට පවුලක් නඩත්තු කරන්න බෑ. ඒක දරුවයි හදන්න පුළුවන්. ඒකත් බොහොම අමාරුවෙන් ඒ දරුවටත් වේදම් කරන්නේ.
A plea to the gods was held at the historic Ganeshwara Devalaya today against the attempt to amend electricity tariffs.
Professionals organizations met with State Minister of Finance Ranjit Siambalapitiya today to discuss the income tax of 6 to 36% on monthly incomes exceeding 100,000 rupees from January. However, the discussion ended without a decision.
In the end, the State Minister of Finance promised to discuss the matter with the President on Thursday and announce a decision to the country. However, if we don't receive a favourable response on Thursday, the GMOA plans to launch a Black Protest Week from the 23rd of January. Nearly 100 new engineers have made arrangements and requested to leave the CEB. That will definitely happen. The Federation of University Teachers Association will not hesitate to launch a massive protest with groups that will be burdened due to the new tax policy. State expenditure is 300 times the state income. 3.4 million families are requesting funds from the government to survive. That is 60% of all the families. If we don't increase the state income for this, the only alternative is to obtain loans. Can we obtain loans now? If money is printed and the inflation that was controlled will rise again. We have highlighted this as the Treasury. They had raised their concerns in a report and presented alternative proposals. We will present this report through the Finance Minister to the President this week and discuss in detail the best alternatives that can be taken and when we can implement them.
University lecturers at the University of Rajarata signed the petition against the new Income Tax Act. All lecturers of the University of Rajarata took part in the program. Lecturers at the Open University in Navala also signed the petition in protest.
News First with the people.
Now, Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Wijesekara did in fact present a proposal to hike electricity tariffs to the Cabinet of Ministers today, and he issued the following tweet thereafter. A Sri Lankan family narrowly escaped disaster when two helicopters collided in Australia's Gold Coast earlier today. Now, Rushika Patrick and her 8-year-old son, along with a family friend, was supposed to get on board one of the ill-fated helicopters, but they didn't, as they got late having lunch and were unable to purchase the ticket for the helicopter ride. Now, Rushika Patrick shared her experience with News First.
4 people died and 3 more are fighting for their lives following the accident that took place on the Gold Coast near SeaWorld.
It was a late lunch for us because we just got late doing things. We went on a ride where the queue was really long. We went to get, snacks and drinks, and everything took time. So by the time we sat down for lunch, it was quite late. Even the queue to order lunch was quite long. And then, he was taking some time to finish his lunch, and I was just waiting for him to finish to buy the tickets when all of this happened. And I was just looking around and I saw 2 helicopters up in the air. One was low, like it was just taking off, and the other one was higher up but looked like it was coming into land. I saw it coming towards each other and I was thinking, oh, that's pretty close to each other. And then I kept looking at it and it still kept flying towards each other, and I was thinking, somebody, I'm sure, they would be deviating from each other, but then the next thing it collided and I heard a loud bang, and then tail of the one plane knocked the front of the other, and one nosedive, it was a direct nosedive into the ground or water or wherever they crashed, and the other one wobbled in the air, like it did like a half turn, it was wobbly, it wasn't steady, and it managed to somehow shakily land. So that's the part that I saw. We were still trying to figure out what had happened. It was such a shock. And then we went out of the restaurant, we were walking out, and we saw people crying under the helicopter, the place where you buy the scenic flight tickets, because we were going to buy our tickets there as well.
Now, in other news, the chairman of the Student Union of the University of Kelaniya was arrested together with another activist by the Talangama police. They were arrested for damaging the gate of the Education Ministry on the 10th of July 2022.
The chairman of the Student Union of the University of Kelaniya, Kalu Mudanayaka, and activist Dilshan Harshana were arrested by Talangama police when they visited the police station to provide a statement. They will be produced to the Kaduwala Magistrates Court on Tuesday.
University activists, including the convener of the Inter-University Students' Federation, were arrested for various reasons. Most of these arrests are under the Public Property Act or Ragging Act. If we take a look at history, these 2 acts are mainly used to suppress the university students. There is no ruling that anyone was in fact punished using these acts. The situation is not good. They are being categorized and suppressed.
court granted permission today to the Criminal Investigation Department to conduct DNA tests using blood samples from the crime scene and the remains of businessman Dinesh Shafter, who was found dead recently. In other news, while many political parties in the country are gearing up to face the provincial council elections, the General Secretary of the Sri Lanka Podujana Perumuna said that discussions with the United National Party on forming an alliance are still ongoing.
We have discussed certain matters with the UNP in this regard. However, after discussing thoroughly with our provincial representatives, we have reached the decision to contest the election under the Pohtua symbol. But in some councils, our candidates will contest the election under another symbol.
ලකුණක් යටතේ අපේ අපේක්ෂකයොත් යොදවලා තරඟ කරන්නත් වැනි තත්ත්වයක් ඇති වෙන්න පුළුවන්.
එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂ නායකයා විදිහට රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්මයාත් එක්ක මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් සාකච්ඡා කරා.
එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂය සමග සන්දානගත වීමක් සම්බන්ධයෙන් මේ වනතෙක් ඍජු තීරණයක් නැහැ.
ජනාධිපතිතුමන් මොන වගේ මතයක්ද දරන්නේ සම්බන්ධයෙන්? එතුමාගේ කැමැත්තක් තියෙනවද ශ්‍රී ලංකා පොදු ජන පෙරමුණ සහ එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂය එකතු වෙලා ගමනක් යන්න?
ඒක අපි හිතන්නේ මේ අවස්ථාවේදී එවැනි දෙයක් කියන්න සුදුසු නෑ. ඒ සාකච්ඡා අවසන් වුණාට පස්සේ තමයි මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් අපිට තීරණයක් කියන්න.
බැසිල් රාජපක්ෂ ඔබතුමාලගේ නායකතුමා මොන වගේ මතයකද ඉන්නේ ඒ සම්බන්ධයෙන්?
එක් අයගේ මත
Personal opinions don't matter here. What's important is the final decision made during this discussion. Since discussions are still ongoing, I think it's best not to comment at this time.
ප්‍රකාශ කිරීම මේ අවස්ථාවේ සුදුසු නෑ කියන එක තමයි මගේ හැඟීම.
පොට්ටුවක් අතින් කොටින් ගත්ත අලියක බින්දුවයක් දාලා යුනයිටඩ් නේෂන් පොදියට පෙරුණක සන්දානයක් ගන්නවා.
බලමුකෝ.
Meanwhile, the senior members of the SLFP says that they are ready to form an alliance with other political parties to contest the upcoming election.
A request was made to the party central committee to contest the North and Eastern provincial councils under the symbol of the hand. We are considering this request and we hope to allow it. We are trying to face this election together with the left-wing progressive forces. No, we are not going to form any alliance with the Samagi Jana Balawegya. Our hope is to form a new left-wing progressive party. Some people who left our party are trying to push us there, but we are not ready to go to that level. 24 political parties are holding discussions with us. All these parties want to defeat the Ranil Rajapaksa government. We are working on contesting this election under the beetle leaf symbol of the United People's Freedom Alliance.
Here are some of the remarks expressed by Professor G.L. Puris in this regard.
The Election Commission says that if the Parliament passes a proposal to postpone the elections, the Election Commission is compelled to follow it. The Parliament has no power to postpone an election in which the people's opinions are sought after. Some ministers representing the government say that the government doesn't have enough funds to hold an election. I don't think any government in the world has given such an excuse when postponing elections. If we allow this, that will be the end of democracy in this country. The current president is an interim president who can only remain in office for 2.5 years. What will you do if the president after 2.5 years says that he cannot hold any election due to a lack of funds?
Meanwhile, several representatives of the JVP met the Election Commission today.
Legally, you cannot postpone this further. We informed the chairman of the Election Commission to take a decision on this as the people are awaiting this decision. The chairman of the Election Commission says that he will announce a decision soon, perhaps following the coming long weekend.
The Maganagama Road Construction Equipment Company of the Road Development Authority in Paliagoda commenced duties for the new year in the following manner.
A notice was displayed this morning stating that accommodation provided for a group of employees of the Maganagama Road Construction Equipment Company will be removed from today. Employees inquired from the management regarding the notice during the tea party that was organized this morning. This is the situation that followed. During the heated situation, the chairman of the company and other officials left the premises.
Emeritus Professor of Law Lakshman Marasingha has died. Professor Marasingha was serving as the chairman of the Law Commission of Sri Lanka.
Professor Lakshman Marasingha's remains lie at his ancestral home in North Thandiya, Walhapitiya. His final rites will be held on Thursday, the 5th of January, at the General Cemetery in Walhapitiya. Professor Marasingha, who studied at Royal College, Colombo, gained his LLB with first-class honours from University College, London. Lakshman Marasingha, who served at many universities, is an emeritus professor of law of the University of Windsor. He also worked as the legal director of the Secretariat for coordinating the peace process during the war. He is also a member of the Pemble International Research Centre. Professor Lakshman Marasingha is the beloved husband of former Supreme Court Judge and current chairperson of the Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka, Justice Rohini Marasingha.
Across all walks of life, listening to the people, visiting door to door, witnessing the truth firsthand. This is the heart of the village. Gammetta, for the people, by the people.
Thousands have been paying their respects to former Pope Benedict XVI as he is lying in state in the Vatican. He died on Saturday at the age of 95, almost a decade after he stood down because of ill health.
Pope Francis will preside over Pope Benedict's funeral on Thursday, the first time a pope will be buried by his successor. The Vatican released pictures of the body yesterday, dressed in red papal mourning robes and wearing a gold-trimmed mitre. Benedict XVI's body will be displayed for 3 days in an open casket at St. Peter's Basilica, with people allowed to pay their respects until 7 p.m. each evening. Before the church was open to the public, Italian President Sergio Mattarella and Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni were among those who paid their respects. The funeral will take place in St. Peter's Square before the Pope Emeritus is laid to rest in the tombs beneath the basilica.
Marvel actor Jeremy Renner is in a critical but stable condition in hospital after an accident which occurred while he was ploughing snow.
A spokesperson for the Jeremy Renner told foreign media the 51-year-old was airlifted to hospital yesterday after the incident at his home near Reno, Nevada. They added that Renner was receiving excellent care following the weather-related accident. Dozens of people have been killed across the US amid blizzard conditions. The winter storm also caused power cuts and forced the cancellation of thousands of flights. Renner is probably best known for playing Hawkeye in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He has also starred in films such as The Hurt Locker, for which he received a Best Actor Oscar nomination, American Hustle and Mission Impossible: Ghost Protocol.
And that's the news for tonight from Team News First. Thank you for watching. Good night.